Using this epoxy finishing resin, final coat on the bottom of the fuselage. Little trick there. Get your epoxy brush down. Still got a few slight brush marks. Hit it with a heat gun. Just flattens the finish. I did work both these inside edges a little bit more. Laid a bit more epoxy in there to get them sharper. I have also really focused on the surfaces of these stumble blocks, getting a nice smooth coat of epoxy on them, and also the transition. I have now 4 times laid finish down on here and sanded the sponsons. I've sanded most of it off, so pretty much the same thickness as one coat. So my next coat on here will be paint. I've been using epoxy thin for my first coat, sealing the wood. And then wherever I'm going to leave it natural, my second coat, I'm using a finishing epoxy. This isn't epoxy to be used to glue anything together for strength. It's designed as a finishing epoxy, and it has ultraviolet protection. So first coat to seal it, second coat where I'm leaving it natural, I use the finishing epoxy. And then where I'm using color, the reason I only do one coat of thin epoxy to seal it, where I'm having color, is because this is a true epoxy paint. Part A, Part B. This is class coat, and you mix it up just like epoxy. You can also thin it. They have their reducer, and this is as tough as any epoxy, except it's got color. So I now have color on the sponsons. So I have coat of sealer here, coat of finishing epoxy, 2 coats. I have my sanded down coats from blueprinting. So really just 1 layer thickness of epoxy. And then I have the epoxy paint. So the sponsons are painted. I have also put finishing epoxy on the insides of the sponsons, both sides. I'm going to leave that natural. Now I'm going to have to make a stand to keep working on the boat, since I got the sponsons painted, but I wanted to get that done. I flipped it over to show you that I also have finishing resin. So that's the second coat on the sides of the center section. And I have the transom done. Second coat. I did that with the full strength 30-minute epoxy because I was filling them holes. And you can see I've taped it off. So there's only 1 coat sealer here, here, on the tops and sides. So my color is going to be across the back. It's going to be on the tops, the sponsons and the sheeting here, on the sides, and on the cowling. So I have my color layout, but I haven't fully settled on my color scheme. Over time, I've picked up a few colors of this class coat paint. I've been buying them in the 8-ounce cans, and for each can of color I've picked up 8-ounce can of the catalyst. This is not cheap paint. But it's a true two-part A and B epoxy paint, and it's getting hard to find. Once you purchase a color, can even this smaller size, goes a long ways. You can use these colors for several builds. I sanded the sponson bottoms one more time after I painted them with this Class Coat white epoxy paint, knocking down the brush marks. Then I'm blocking the boat up, finishing the sponson bottoms one at a time with it set and level, putting down a coat of thinned finishing epoxy. This way gravity can cause it to flatten. Now I got the finish I want. Otherwise I would have been wasting all the time I spent blueprinting these sponsons. I've never got a good result thinning and spraying epoxy. So using a brush, you're going to get brush marks. And I did a crosshatch pattern. And I think it gives it like a blueprinted look. This is really flat and true. That reflection would pick up any imperfections, and there's very few. But I'm thinking this crosshatch pattern might cause that boundary layer between the sponsons and the water, and might pick up a little speed because of that. But it's really hard to get even this good of a finish with epoxy. Really happy with the result. That's what I did to keep the bottoms of these stiffeners flat. Tape a couple sticks on there. Alright, got the fiberglass cowling roughed in, trimmed up here. I've cut close to the stiffeners and I taped it up, marked it, I have it cut to length. Wonder what this would look like now with a motor on it. Nice. Actually starting to look like something. I got the optional fiberglass cowling, but it comes with an ABS chin. I got an idea. I trimmed this ABS plastic chin to fit. Fits right behind these stiffeners. Got a line marked here, about a 1/4 inch in, and I'll mold a fiberglass chin. Down to this line here. I waxed the ABS chin, just some car wax, and then I have this MAS epoxy, laid down 2 layers of 6-ounce fiberglass cloth. How did it turn out? Will it release? Of course it will. There you go. The wax worked. The proper way to do this would be, while it was laid up on the ABS chin, would be to build more layers of fiberglass and resin for stiffness. And then this would be a female mold. Take your mold on the inside here. Be the same size as this, obviously. And you'd get the finish copied from the ABS chin. This is quicker, and I have enough flex in this and the cowling. I'm not worried about being off the thickness of this lay, and I'm gonna have to smooth the bond line anyway, and then a little more fill, wet sand the bond line in the bottom of the chin. So pretty much going with this because it's quicker. I've stayed a bit long on my pencil line. I'll mark that a little better now, and mark these cutouts for the stiffeners. And I'll probably have to trim these back a little bit more for the thickness of this lay, but I'll make that adjustment after I rough it in. After I get this trimmed a little closer, I'll put it in the cowling. I cut this while it was a bit green still. I'll tape it in place and let it finish hardening. This moss epoxy, it's for fiberglass. It's not like your regular epoxy, won't harden as much. So this is a bit green, but when it fully cures, it'll be pretty much rock hard. I've been real happy with this. the performance of this moss system. So I'm staying a bit wild, and then, like I said, I'll trim it to fit when I try it in the cowling. So there you go. Quick and dirty. Fiberglass chin. I've trimmed it to fit around these stiffeners. But I don't think I'm going to leave it fully hardened in here. I pull them with tape. I'm going to not get the proper curve. Might get a bit of a twist. So I'm going to put it back on the ABS chin and let it fully cure on the chin now that I have it trimmed up. I'm now epoxying it together. I have fit this tongue in here. It's curled up a little bit right now. Clamping these together. Had to not let it gap out there. But when that relaxes, that will flatten a little bit. I trimmed down to here after dry fitting it. See how I marked it, magic marker. I also marked how far in to push this nose. That mark there and there, eyeballing down through here. I have also fit all the way along the top sheeting there. Then I have the back end cut, and here's my third hand. It says in the manual, using all three hands now, hold it in place with it fit to the fuselage. And this tongue is going to get epoxied in there. It'll come out to about here, about an inch. And when you slip it on, it will capture the front end. So going for it here. It's all fitted up, epoxying it together. All right, that wraps up the one-off fiberglass chin. I have a fillet of epoxy laid down in here. Got it roughed in as far as sanding it smooth. Got the center tongue sealed, epoxied in. I think I'm going to go with 2 thumb screws in the back here. Be a more positive engagement than Velcro. Fits nice. probably grind these tabs off here when I do some more finishing work on the seam here. Smooth them out flush, don't need them now. This chin wrapping around like this catches on the front end of the fuselage nose block and it's captured with the center tongue. Interesting part of the build, making a custom one-off fiberglass chin for the fiberglass cowling. Kind of couldn't live with that. Not that hard to do either. And I don't know, I like the fiberglass on fiberglass versus the ABS cowl. Time to lay down some more paint now.